Hi, my name is Ann Hawkins. I am a residence life coordinator at the College for Creative Studies. What that means is I am in charge of housing in one of our buildings. So supervising the resident assistants who live on the floor, helping to coordinate training and hiring, handling situations judicially, and various things like that.
So backtracking, so that's where you are now. What was your first job then, coming out of college?
Coming out of college?
Or okay, if you had a job before then as well.
So this is my first job coming out of college. But I guess in college, my first job was a conference associate. So I worked during the summer with summer conferences. So like getting rooms ready, checking guests in and checking guests out. Very similar kind of to an RA where we would be on call and we would assist guests and stuff. And there'd be various conferences at Western. So it would range from like high school soccer camps to like we had a big international conference where there were professionals from all over the world who would come and stay on campus and stuff. So that was like my first job in college, if that's kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Okay, what was your major and where did you attend school? I know you said you went to Western already, but what was your major?
Yeah, so I went to Western. I graduated with a degree. My undergraduate degree was in organizational communication with a minor in family life education. That took a while to get to. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I would actually love that.
Yeah. So I went in as a biology major because I wanted to work with animals. So at that time, I mean, that was kind of the main thing is I really wanted to work with animals and do more zoology, but they didn't have zoology. So I went into biology. Not my thing, because you also have to do chemistry and lots of other more technical type things. And I just wanted to work with animals. So I was kind of finding that wasn't working for me. And so I switched into education, thinking maybe I wanted to be a teacher. And I was specifically looking at being a family life like educator. So like for life skills and things like that. And then with my minor was German. So I wanted to maybe be a German teacher. That just also wasn't working out. So the way that they taught German in college was way different than I learned in high school. So it wasn't as fun. I wasn't picking up. And when I did my pre-teaching experience, I was finding it wasn't for me. I went with some high schoolers, and just the rowdiness and, just the way that it was really hard to gain their respect and pull them in. And I was just really struggling with that age group. And at the time I had no experience with children. So I was like, maybe this isn't it either. So then I finally landed on organizational communications, which was really all about working with people. We took all sorts of communication classes, things like intercultural communication, gendered communication, interpersonal communication. And I kept my minor family life education because I really enjoyed that piece of it. So taking things like adolescent development or family systems and things like that. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that, but I enjoyed it. It were like various leadership classes and organizational culture classes and stuff. So that's where I landed with my undergraduate degree. And then at that point, do you want me to go into my master's?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so at that point, again, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had then been very involved on campus throughout my undergraduate degree. So I was in marching band. I was involved in one of the various Bible study groups on campus. I was involved in like hall council. I was an RA, orientation leader, a lot of things like that. So I really enjoyed student involvement. And so at that point, I kind of decided that I wanted to go into higher education and student affairs. So I applied for the master's program and got into that. So my master's degree is in higher ed and student affairs, and my job experience throughout that, I was a assistant hall director, and then I worked as a graduate student in the office of the president, before then applying and getting the job that I have now. But between that, I did career services. So I had an internship at Michigan State, which turned into a job that they let me work for the summer until I got my full-time position. So I did career advising there.
Okay, that's wild. So from that point to getting to your job now, like what was the moment when you were like, applied and got it? Like how did you make that connection?
Oh yeah, that's a fun story. So when I was an RA, a big mentor and leader that I had as an RA was my current supervisor, Ryan. And so we were RAs together. At that point, he was a fourth year RA when I was a first year RA. And I learned a lot from him. And then when he went and became an assistant hall director as well, because he was in grad school at Western, I then became an assistant hall director, and we were able to work together as kind of coworkers at that point. When he graduated, he got a job here at College of Creative Studies. And when I was job searching, I was like, hey, I reached out to him and was like, because he kept talking about how much he loved it here. So I was like, do you have any job openings? And at the time he didn't. But when I was in my career search, a job opened up, and that's how I knew about it. So then I applied. And that's how I knew about the College for Creative Studies, because I had never actually heard of this institution. It's a small private school, right?
Yeah.
But he talked about how much he loved it here. And I did a lot of research, and there were a lot of these awesome videos on the website, and there were some student experience videos. One particular that followed a student from being like they took a video of them every year. And so like I loved hearing about their stories. And something that pulled me in is they were talking about how much they liked comics and nerdy things. And I was like, that sounds great. So I was fascinated by the art and design field and all of the cool things that students were getting to do. So I'm not an artist or a designer, but I'm very intrigued by art and like the process and everything. So it felt like a really good fit. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. What advice do you have for people who are trying to build their career network right now?
Yeah. People who are trying to build their career network. So something that I would say is building their career network. It's definitely okay to ask questions. I mean, I think if you're interested in something, I remember, so I did a lot of job shadowing and stuff, even in like high school when I was going into college. I did like a lot of volunteering and job shadowing at like animal shelters and things like that. And I found stuff like that really helpful because, and even when I was doing like my teaching, my pre-teaching stuff, like I went in and did that experience where I immersed myself. And I think it really helped me to learn what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And I talked to people. So if you're trying to build your network, definitely don't be afraid to talk to people. I know that's kind of hard to say, but reach out to companies. I mean, see if you can do shadowing. I would definitely highly suggest that. Some companies might not let you, but some people may be really interested even just talking. So like, I would say even before you're trying to apply. So like starting early, if you're trying to look into something, like reach out and see if you can have like a Zoom chat to talk about things. I mean, that being said, I currently am going back to school. I'm thinking about getting a doctorate, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I reached out at Oakland University for the person who was in charge of the program there, and was just like, hey, can we have a Zoom chat and talk about like what school is like there, what your program is like, and things like that. And honestly, like that conversation helped a lot. Like I made that connection with that professional. And then at the end of the conversation, she was like, well, actually, I think you would like this summer job or this summer class that you could sign up for right now. You should do that. So I was like, oh, okay. And I did. And now I'm, taking classes, but just taking that opportunity to reach out and ask questions, but being prepared with questions. So thinking about what you really want to know about companies and about positions, but taking the time to ask about it would be something I would suggest. And at that point, you're making connections with professionals in the field. And I would suggest, like, if you're in school, asking your professors and people who are in the field too, about their journeys, which seems like that's what we're kind of doing right here, but asking people about their journeys and how they got where they're at and what connections and stuff that they have. So not only, I know sometimes it's hard to put yourself out there and like, I'm going to reach out to a company and ask some questions, like, but start with asking people you know and are comfortable with too.
That's a really good point. That's a very good point. I mean, like the worst thing that can happen is they'll be like, no. So
yeah.
All right. Last question. If you could do anything you wanted to do, what would be your next career?
Is this realistic? like like if I had to start over, or this is like where I'm at right now?
Let's do both. If you could do like anything at all, like reasonable or otherwise, and then like if you're moving forward, what's going to be next for you?
Yeah, if I could do anything, what would my next career be? I don't think I would want to go outside of higher ed. I think this is where I'm meant to be. I learn a lot. I mean, like students who are in college, it's so inspiring because like you get to see people find themselves, and I learned so much from students because like people are coming in with different life experiences. And I think like any other job, you just don't get this opportunity to do that. So I don't think I want to leave higher ed. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to, I think there comes a point where maybe you begin to age out of housing, like of the nitty gritty where you're living on campus and you're getting those, 4 a.m. calls and things like that. There will be a point, I think, especially when having kids and stuff. I love housing though. So I think like to land at maybe some kind of mid-level. I don't want to go much higher than that because I like the student experience a lot, at least at this point in my life. So assistant director, I'm very passionate about hiring and creating teams, and I'm really passionate about training students. So I would want to stay in that realm. But I think I found where I want to be. But now that I've learned more, I think I can see like inner workings and more strategic aspects of higher ed. So maybe being able to put my strengths in a space where I can do that. I'm also a certified strengths coach, Gallup strengths coach. So I really enjoy leadership development and development in that sense with students and their strengths. So something with that. Yeah. So I don't know if I have like a concrete answer, but ideally something where I can supervise, train, hire, and help develop leadership. If I was thinking like anything, I think there are 2 things. I would love to be an actress. I almost went into stage management. So that was a journey too. Like I was deciding between certain majors, and I had gotten my appointment to sign up for stage management because Western has a pretty good theater program. Because I directed plays and stuff in high school and did a lot of acting and short film stuff for film majors, friends of mine in college. But I think I would have loved to be an actress. I love that idea of like character building. Whereas I don't know that I have the skill set for being an artist. But sorry, he was about to go bark. Yeah, so I don't think I have the skill set to actually create characters artistically, but I like that idea of acting and like becoming characters. That's why I enjoy D&D a lot. So that's really fun to me, like immersing myself into a character. I love Halloween, researching that because it's like that human connection piece. Yeah, I would have loved to be an actress, I think. And then I also would have loved still, I think, to be a zoologist and do like conservation efforts or things like that. I think that could be really cool too. Like, you see a lot of zoologists who specialize in certain animals. So like they might specialize in penguins and then they go, and rescue penguins and learn about conservation efforts and things like that. Or, something like that. I think I would have really liked if the science piece didn't get me.
That's fair. That sounds like a really amazing job. I mean, like, they all do, but penguins, yeah. But yeah. Well, thank you for sharing everything. I love your story. I feel like it's really great because you have that piece with Ryan that you talked about a little bit about how, like, I feel like it's such a direct play into networking. I was like, oh yeah, we worked together back then, and then, like, following up and keeping in touch with people. So I think it's kind of perfect for this interview.
So, advice about that. The world may seem big, but it is a small world. So just be careful about burning bridges. Just throwing that out there.
That's a good one.
You never know who you're going to work with. So big tip, be kind to everyone.